بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد صدق الله العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وأسوتنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. My respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all of you. It is a great pleasure for me today to welcome you to the second annual Science Symposium. I have a few minutes to give a short introduction to it, so inshallah I will do two things. One is I am going to give a quick reference to the Quran that I think really sums up why we are here today. And the second is I'm going to speak about one of the processes as an example to give some glimpse as to what it is that we are doing here today. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ مَا تَصْنَعُونَ. And the remembrance of Allah is the greatest thing. And Allah is well acquainted with what you do. So we have come here today only for the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through a study of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for those that have made the effort to prepare for this day, to be here, to attend, and for those that have made the effort to put those posters and presentations together for today, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is well aware of every effort that you have put in, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward those who have put in a sincere effort seeking the blessings and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the two surahs that I recited, the first surah was Iqra, that has a great emphasis on intelligence and seeking knowledge. The second surah was Surah Al-Ikhlas, which has great emphasis on Tawheed. This is the subject matter of the Science Symposium. It is learning and education upon the foundation of Tawheed. One of the things that I've noticed from all the posters, subhanAllah, great effort has been put into that, and there is a combination between what is in Quran and what it is that we find in scientific research today. But subhanAllah, to me the greatest miracle of Al-Quran is not any one of those posters. It's not any one of these subjects that will be addressed today. But it is in fact the congruence of all of these subjects upon the truth. Whether it is from the linguistic angle, whether it is from the scientific angle, whether it is from the historical angle, whether it is from the angle of social interaction and financial dealings. The fact that Al-Quran is giving us a guidance where there is a congruence upon the truth is the greatest and most amazing fact of Al-Quran. As an example, my son has done a project on the spider web. And so for the last few days, I've just had Spider on my mind, so the kids can call me Spider-Man, that's okay. But subhanAllah, this story gives us a very good example of how the Quran combines both the linguistic, lyrical, as well as scientific facts in one very simple verse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes in this verse that there are those, He gives the example of those who take other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a protector, and says that this person is like the example of a spider. So for us to do some thinking, some investigation and see what is the similarity between the one who takes other than Allah as a protector and the spider, and the living environment of the spider. So I'll mention just a few examples and we'll end with that inshallah, but this will give us a good understanding of why it is that we are here today. So when we look at the life of the spider, we see that the spider spins a web, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that really this is the weakest of houses is the house of the spider, if only they knew. My son, inshallah, will tell you all about the state of the spider's web. This is not what I'm going to speak about. I'm going to speak about how is this verse relevant to the comparison, for us, the comparison Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making. First of all, the spider spins a web, it spins it very skillfully, and spins it with a web in a design that is under any standard an architectural and engineering marvel. And the material of the web is super strong, stronger than any other material or thread occurring in nature. So this is something amazing about the web. But what has this got to do with someone that has rejected Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, these were idol worshippers. And in our time today, the challenge for us are those who say that there is even no God, the atheists. So those people who glorify the universe and glorify themselves as opposed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is what this verse is speaking about. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes it by saying that the spider is an example of those. So let's look at the spider. He spins this web with great intricacy and great detail and spins it superbly. But in reality, his house is very weak. Today we have scientists from all across the world that don't believe in Allah, don't believe in even the existence of a God, and yet they produce the most amazing papers in their research field. So they have the material which is strong, and they have the house that they are building and what they see in their research which is strong. But in reality what they have is weak, because there is no iman in Allah. Then another characteristic of the spider is that the spider itself on its web is something that we know from scientific study that does not see very far. It only has a very short sightedness in that it sees only a few centimeters. In the same manner, we can say that these atheists who reject Allah have a very short-sighted view of the world. SubhanAllah, the spider is one that also throws its web out to trap people, or rather to trap insects. And then after something is trapped inside there, the spider will go there and inject it with poison. And this thing dies. Look at the beauty in the example of the Quran. In this same manner we have a web of deceit and a web of lies for those who reject Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala today. Some may call it the World Wide Web. And you get caught inside this web. It is a web of deceit that will lead to your destruction. And then the final thing is that they will inject you with the poison of an ideology that will lead to your destruction. So subhanAllah, in this very, very small example, I haven't spoken about the great scientific facts behind the story, but look at the relevance. Look at the relevance of this example to us, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes it in great detail for us. Something else which is interesting is that spiders also, the several species of them, by nature, eat one another. Even the wife will eat the husband, or the wife will eat the children. So subhanAllah, this is a beautiful example. So I want to mention very simply that our responsibility today is only to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through looking at His creation, and to make the connection between Creator and His creation, and to look at creation and understand and acknowledge that this has been created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, the All-Merciful. I want to end off finally by saying that the people that have put together, taken the time to make these posters, today is a day that the rest of us should make sure that we go to them and tell them that they've done a good job. It is because of their posters here today that we are able to have this event. Inshallah, we will continue with the presentations. Jazakumullah khairan.
I would like to acknowledge our CUP White House who are here since morning, and they work with us, and I really appreciate all the staff who are here with them. It's a good program that they have started, and inshallah you will hear about it later on. Now I will inshallah invite Brother Dr. Mohammed Mursi He's the vascular surgeon at VA Veteran Affairs Hospital, and is a community member for the last 20 years. And inshallah ta'ala, he will talk about an American Muslim scientist.
It's really a pleasure to be here. It's actually an honor to be here as your keynote speaker. There's many more brothers and sisters in this community that are far more qualified than me to give this talk, to give this presentation. But I am honored, and I will do my best. Congratulations to all the participants. These posters are of incredibly high quality and very impressive. The effort, the work that's put into the thought process, you are all to be congratulated. I'm very impressed. I'm actually inspired by what I see here. And we should continue, inshallah, in the upcoming years and proceed with the 3rd, 4th, and 5th Science Symposium. Thank you to the organizing committee, especially Brother Yesser, for conducting this in such an organized and professional fashion. I wanted to speak, this symposium, and I felt this very strongly last year and this year, is not about adults, it's not about me standing up here, it's not about any of us talking, it's about the youth. It's about their aspirations, their goals, their desires, what they want to do. This is a science symposium, and the presentations are of scientific nature, and so inshallah that will inspire the youth and the participants to continue in their endeavor in science. I'm a Muslim, I'm a scientist, I'm a surgeon, and I came to this country in 1964 when I was 3 years old with my family. Islam was almost unheard of in this country in 1964. You would have to try to find a mosque. And alhamdulillah now, we're celebrating Iftar, we're celebrating Ramadan in the White House. So alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed us, this country, with the knowledge and the widespread expansion of this religion. So having said that, growing up in this country and now being a professor of surgery and a chief of surgery, that I can speak a little bit about the path that Allah has guided me, has chosen for me to become into my position. I'm not qualified, I'm not a scholar, I'm not qualified to talk about verses in the Quran. There's so many more people here that are better than me, so I thought I would kind of describe my journey and see if that would inspire anyone and see how God and Allah has guided me. So let's begin. So as we've heard the opening verses, that Lord said, "Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, khalaqa al-insana min 'alaq, iqra wa rabbuka al-akram alladhi 'allama bil-qalam 'allama al-insana ma lam ya'lam." So Allah says, read. It says, gather knowledge. It doesn't say Iqra the Quran, it says read. Just read and gather knowledge. So that's what we've done here. We went out, you read, and you gathered knowledge, and you put it down on paper. But then it says, Allah says, Iqra bismi rabbika. Read in the name of Allah. So any knowledge that you gather, Islamic or otherwise, scientific, economic, engineering, mathematics, whatever you gather, you have to gather in the name of Allah to make it worthwhile, but you have to do it in the proper form. You have to do it within the religious guidelines of our Islam, within the Haram and Halal. And then you have to use that knowledge properly. So you can discover nuclear fission and nuclear fusion, and then it depends on how you use it, and that's why you have to do that by the guidance of Allah, in His name, the way He does it. And you hear again, Allah says, Iqra again, for repetition. So it's emphasis, number one. Number two, it means continue to read. Don't just read and then gain knowledge when you're in high school or when you're in college. Continue to gather knowledge. Continue to do these types of presentations throughout your career. And then Allah says, He taught man which He did not know. So you have to stay humble. You don't go around saying that this poster, I made this poster because I'm great, or this all came from me. This came from Allah's guidance. All the knowledge you have, any knowledge you have, came from Allah, and you should be humble, and you should be thankful for that knowledge, and you shouldn't be arrogant. The first sin was arrogance. So, what about me? So I came to this country in 1964, 3 years old. Why? Because my father wanted to gain knowledge. He wanted to go get his PhD in business. So we lived in New York City for 6 years, and there was one mosque in New York City. So alhamdulillah, that was nice. And then in 1970, when I was 10 years old, we moved to a small little city in Michigan, Mount Pleasant, Michigan. It was very pleasant, but it was very small, about 12,000 people. So there were no Muslims in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Zero. I was the only Muslim in my school. I was the only Muslim in the neighborhood. I was the only Muslim in child, of course, my family's here, in the whole community. So that's how I grew up all the way from 1970 to 1979, inshallah, alhamdulillah, when I went to college in 1979. So what happened during those years? What kind of guidance did alhamdulillah that Allah blessed me with, so that I ended up where I am today, alhamdulillah. So first of all, there was discipline. So discipline in the form of different things. Different things come how you manifest discipline. Of course, there's always the religious discipline. But for instance, I have paper routes. Okay, I don't know if they have paper routes anymore. I used to wake up at 5 in the morning and go deliver papers on my bike. Now remember, this is Michigan, so it's kind of cold. But after that worked out fine. I was a wrestler in college, in high school. And you run a team, you're wrestling, you have to practice, you sometimes are going to lose. That teaches you a lot of discipline. I was in scouting, so alhamdulillah, I see that we have a scout troop here. I'm so happy that we have a scout troop here. I started as a Cub Scout, and eventually was a Boy Scout, and alhamdulillah, I was an Eagle Scout. So that's something that all of you should strive for. Being an Eagle Scout is a monumental achievement, and it teaches you a lot. It teaches you about discipline, it teaches you about helping others, it teaches you about working with others and understanding others. So inshallah, this troop will prosper, Allah will bless you, and will continue to guide you, and we'll have many, many Eagle Scouts in this community. That was very, very helpful. And of course, my religion. Waking up, praying prayers, being the only one in your school that fasts, being the only one that abstains from all the harmful haram things, alcohol, etc. That takes discipline. That takes your true desires and guidance and wanting to obey the rules of the law. Then it takes support. So when you're in a community without a mosque, without a lot of Muslims, your support comes from your family. And that's what you have to emphasize on. And even when you have a community, alhamdulillah, like this, that is very blessed to have such a beautiful community center, mosque center, in the entire area, you have to have your family support in order to keep you on the right track, to keep you obeying the religion. Your friends, that's crucial. So even I had no Muslim friends. It could be, I didn't have any Muslims around me. But you surround yourself with friends and people around you that have the same moral values as you, that have the same aspirations and goals as you, okay? We know, of course, in the Quran, Allah says that if you surround yourself and you start hearing bad talk, you need to remove yourself from that situation, or else you'll be like them. So surround yourself with friends that are certainly Muslim, but if they're not Muslim, then they have to have the same core beliefs and moral values as you have, and your same aspirations, so that you will end up in the same way, inshallah. And then direction. You need to have direction. It's not too early to decide about what you want to do in general themes. You know, inshallah, a lot of you will become scientists, you'll carry on the work you've done here, but you have to have a vision and a direction. And so my direction, my vision was I wanted to help people. I was very interested in biology and anatomy and science, and so I manifested that into becoming a doctor, becoming a surgeon, so that I could help fulfill this direction that I wanted to fulfill. And of course, my religion. I wanted to do something that was was allowed in the religion and was religious importance, alhamdulillah. So then that's kind of early childhood, so to speak, and then I went to college. So then college then is another challenge. And all people will go to college, people want to go to college and will pursue a college degree, and there is more challenges. And nowadays, every college is going to have an MSA, every college is going to have a Muslim community. I'm assuming my daughter's in St. Louis, and even there, that's kind of a smallish university. There's a very strong MSA. Get involved in the MSA, and that really in this country, if you look at the history of Islam in this country, MSA was crucial in the development of this organizing Muslims in this country, and really ISNA really came from the MSA. Really, if you read the books. But be involved and stay away from the haram things, okay? Obviously, I mean, that goes without saying. And because there's going to be a lot of temptation. But also stay focused in college. Go to class, do your coursework, but also move on too. Don't just sit there in class. Go do research. Go find a lab. Go do something that is more than just classwork. I was fortunate enough to go work in a research lab when I was a sophomore in college. And under that opened my horizons, and I was able to do other things other than just sit in class and listen to the professor talk. So for those of you that are interested in medical school, after college, or during college, then you take your medical school entrance exam and your MCAT, and then you get into medical school depending on that score and depending on your grades. So again, you have to strive. And you should always strive to do the best you can. Get into the best college you can. Get into the best medical school you can. Get the best residency you can. And for that, every person, that's a different thing. There's nothing wrong with going to a global university versus Harvard versus Princeton. But you want to do the best for you. So always strive to do the very best. And do not just take second best. So then you get into medical school, then you have to decide what kind of doctor you want to be. And then that's called a match. So what happens is you decide on different residencies and different residency programs decide on you, and it goes into a computer and you end up getting matched, so to speak. And you go to a residency. So you become a vascular surgeon, you have to do general surgery first, then you have to do a vascular surgery fellowship. And again, the discipline that you instilled in yourself early on will make you a better resident, because residency is about learning on your own. Just like you've done here with your posters, you went out, you learned on your own, and you put down the information, and you proceeded from there. And you didn't just have someone tell you what to do like you're sitting in class. You actually worked on it. So that's very, very good. And the last part I want to just touch upon, of course, is your own Muslim education and your home and getting married and having a family. And that's obviously crucial, and that's where you bring in the community, you bring in the message, you bring in your imam, and you make sure that your family and your children, to the best of your abilities, are grounded in your religion. And you start early, like we have here. We have the Quran competitions, we have the Friday night halakas, and you make sure your family is together and you are together. And it's about quality time, not just about pure time. And when you're home, you treat your family in a compassionate way, you treat them in a loving way, and you treat them and you teach them the religion. And you don't sacrifice. You don't say, you insist on the rules of the religion. You insist on prayer. You insist on them fasting. And despite what other people are doing in the school. So, and alhamdulillah, in this community, we have a lot of support. When I came here in 1995, I was telling some of the brothers, we used to pray in one of these little houses that was here. The masjid wasn't finished yet. And so we just prayed in one of these little houses. That's what the masjid was. And then alhamdulillah, we had the masjid, and we had Buddha, and we had the community center. So Allah has really blessed us, and we should really take advantage of that. When I came to this country in 1964, I had not stepped into a church for any reason until 9/11. And after 9/11, I've probably been in almost almost every church in the city. I've met with the governor. I've met with the mayor. I've met with the Rotary Club. So, you know, Allah, you know, has everything written for us and He guiding us. So, and now I go and I give talks about Islam. I let people inform people about Islam. I don't try to change anyone. I just inform them. So Allah, you know, that's kind of what Allah has guided me towards. And so now I'm I'm a surgeon. I have a research lab. I do research. Several of the students, people here, one of the medical students now at UAMS was working in my research lab. I'm a surgeon. I teach. And alhamdulillah, I'm an active participant in this community. So again, you know, I'm not qualified to talk about any kind of scholarly activity or any tafsir or anything like that. So I thought I would just tell you kind of my journey in this country of how I became where I am, come to that, Allah has guided me and blessed me. So I don't want to take any more of your time because again, this is about the kids, this is about you, this is about your guys' work. And, you know, I came here to kind of hope maybe give you a little bit of inspiration, but what has happened is I'm the one that's inspired by the quality of this work, and you're all to be congratulated very much so. And Jazakallah khair, thank you for your time, and inshallah we'll proceed with the presentations.
Jazakallah khair, thank you very much, Dr. Muhammad Bursi, for a very insightful and very informative talk. Inshallah, we will proceed with the presentations. We have 4 oral presentations that we have planned. 3 of them we picked out of the poster competition that we did yesterday, and one of them, Munir Shahbaz, he submitted as an abstract. So inshallah, we will go with the presentation, and each presentation will get 7 minutes exactly. For each candidate, they will present for 7 minutes, and then they will get question and answer by the judges. At this time, I request all the judges to please take their seats, inshallah. And I would request whether Rayan Sayyid, please come up here and introduce yourself, your school, and your interests, and the grade learning.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulil Kareem. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Rayan. I go to Little Rock Central High School and I'm in the 10th grade. And today I'm going to present to you about the heliocentric theory, the moon and the orbits, the Quranic perspective. So first, I'd like to start with a disclaimer. The Holy Quran is not a book of science, although it contains various scientific facts and proofs. The reason we heed to the words of the Quran and heed the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is because we submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we say the Shahada and we enter Islam. So in the very first revelation from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ikra, read. And then in ayah number 5 of the same surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allama al-insana ma lam ya'lam. Allah taught man that which he knew not. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is encouraging us, giving us the responsibility to read and to seek knowledge and to study and learn and spread knowledge. And as Brother Abdullah and Brother Morsi said earlier, he's placing this emphasis on learning and, studying and seeking knowledge. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes on to say in Surah Fatir, ayah 28, that those who truly fear Allah are the ones who seek knowledge. We all strive to have khushu' in our prayers and life in general. So when we fulfill this responsibility of seeking knowledge and gaining knowledge and learning and studying, then we're able to have more khushu', attain more khushu', and become more God conscious. So the first scientific statement comes from Surah Yasin, Surah Yunus, ayah number 5. And in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
he made the sun to be a shining glory, a shining lamp, and then the moon takes this lamplight and illuminates beautifully from it. And then another purpose of this ayah is that when we see the sun in the day and the moon in the night, we're able to tell time, we're able to know what time of the day it is, know what day it is, and know like the year, and we're able to tell time. So this diagram shows the various phases of the moon. You have to remember that the moon is always being illuminated by the sun, but the angle which the moon is at from Earth determines how much of the moon we can actually see. So when the moon is exactly between the sun and the Earth, we see all of the dark side of the moon, and that's called the new moon. And then the moon begins to orbit, and then we start to see more and more of the illuminated side of the moon, all the way until it becomes at the angle in which the Earth is between the sun and the moon. And that's when we can see the completely illuminated side of the moon, and this is called the full moon. And then the moon continues to orbit, and then we start to see less and less of the illuminated side of the moon, and it becomes a new moon, and then this cycle goes on and on. So, in this next ayah, this is from Surah Yasin, ayahs 38 to 40, and in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about how the sun runs a course for a fixed period of time, and how the moon and the sun together float in the universe, and in a certain orbit, how the moon, how the Earth orbits around the sun, and then the moon orbits around the Earth. And this ayah, along with the ayah I referenced earlier from Surah Yunus, are really miraculous and beautiful because, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this unlettered man, is, saying these sorts of things like how the moon gets its light from the sun, and how the sun and the moon float in orbit. And a lot of these things, in particular the heliocentric theory, weren't actually proved by science until much, much later. So this diagram represents the heliocentric theory. So you have the sun in the middle of the universe, and then you have the Earth orbiting around the sun. And so the angle that the Earth is at from the sun depends on what season it is. So you can see there's winter, and then spring, and then summer, and then autumn, depending on where the Earth is in its orbit around the sun. So this diagram further shows the heliocentric theory, with again the sun being in the middle of the universe, and then the Earth being in orbit around the sun, and then the moon being in orbit around the Earth. And that's further shown in this diagram. Again, it just shows the same thing, just from a slightly different angle. The amazing thing about Islam and the Quran is that there's absolutely no contradiction in, with this science of the heliocentric theory and the sun and the moon, and other, all other types of sciences and other topics being presented in the symposium. But, when the leading scientists and astronomers in Europe tried to prove the heliocentric theory, like in 1543, Copernicus comes out with his ideas of the heliocentric theory, and the Catholic Church at that time actually suppressed him and kept him from publishing these works. And it wasn't until Copernicus was in his deathbed that he actually, published his ideas. And then when Galileo also supported Copernicus and his heliocentric ideas, he was also suppressed by the Catholic Church, and he was tried in court for blasphemy and also put under house arrest. It wasn't until 1687 when Newton published a heliocentric model in his influential Principia Mathematica that the heliocentric theory actually started to become more widely accepted by a consensus of people. And then in 1822, the Vatican itself allows for the publishing of heliocentric works. But it actually wasn't until 1922 that the Pope himself, and Pope John Paul II, in 1922, he was the Pope, he officially himself concedes that the Earth isn't just a stationary body and that it orbits around the sun, which is the center of the universe. So now we come to this ayah. This is from Surah Al-Imran, ayah 190. And in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us that, and giving us this responsibility to look at, the altercation of day and night, and to see the universe around us that He's put around us, and so we can see the signs and understand from them. And my time's up. Okay. Can I have one more sentence? Okay. Yeah, and then Surah Muhammad, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us to know that He is the one God. We're not just blindly believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We go and we seek knowledge, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us intellect and blesses us with and places the universe around us so that we can see and study these things, so that we can know that, He is the one God.
Any questions?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. It's a very good presentation. Have you
There's a second microphone. We have another microphone.
listed scientists in astronomy that installed this whole process of finding orbits and stuff?
Well, in the making of this presentation, I actually did not do research of Muslim scientists on this. There definitely were Muslim astronomers, but especially at the time that the heliocentric theory was being proved, the more leading Muslim scientists actually tended to focus on other topics. But there definitely were Muslim astronomers, but none of them were studied in the making of this presentation.
Any more questions?
So, again, when you did your research, have you read anywhere where actually some after we went to the moon recently and you got all these telescopes and there's actually there's a fault on the surface of the moon that they put it together. It appears like the moon is cut in half and put back together. Have you ever heard that mentioned in the scientific thinking? I mean, I know this is far-fetched, but you do.
I'm not sure what exactly you're asking. Did you just rephrase it?
There are some in astronomy. When astronomy when they set up the surface of the moon, there's like great faults, like California faults, and it looks like the whole thing can split in half or something. There was indication by some group that it looks like when the moon was split, it was like a line kind of cutting the moon into two halves. And just from observations, not documentary. But the ICLR was one of the project that was done. We have Surah Al-Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, time, the moon split in two halves, put together. Okay? But from their observation right now, with the satellites they can tell about years and all that stuff, from their observation, it looks like the thing like this being split.
Oh, that's really interesting, actually. If I, do more research and present on a similar sort of topic again, I could definitely look into that. But, as far as I know, I don't know much about that. But it's definitely something as a next step to this that we can look into.
What can we apply some people ask us, you are saying that your Quran is truthful, no mistakes in it. But we say, yes, our Quran is true because it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if we find some mistakes from like what we can say about the sun or about the moon or whatever, and we found one mistake, so how can we reply?
Well, we can defend it by saying that it's probably not a mistake, and that, you know, the Quran, especially on things like the heliocentric theory, it doesn't take a definitive stance that, yes, this is exactly how the universe works. You know, Islam and the Quran are a lot more flexible, so we can adapt and say that if this is true, then, you know, under the interpretation of the Quran, it's also true, just because it's so flexible. It's not a defined stance on any matter.
That's actually a great question, and I believe a lot the youth, especially in this country, you know, science is the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All these scientists that you see, they discover things Allah made. So it doesn't make any sense that the one who made them would send us a book that contradicts the true discovery. But anytime you feel like this is not right, it doesn't go with Quran teaching, there are multiple ways. One way, we need to understand the Quran correctly. Secondly, there is theory and there is facts. There's hundreds of theory. Theory, you have to prove to become facts, it's very different. So, and even if you have doubt, go to the Muslim scholars that specialize in that field, and you will find the answer.
Exactly, that goes back to just the flexibility that we're able to interpret it in ways.
The science fits the Quran. You don't make the Quran fit the science.
Right.
Inshallah, we'll move to the second oral presentation, the miracles of word by Munir Shahbaz. I would like him to come up, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I'll be talking about the miracles of wood. It was by me. Okay, have you ever thought about the fire that you light? Is it you who make the trees that fuel it grow, or are we the grower? We have made it to be a reminder and a comfort for travelers in the wild. So glorify the name of your Lord, the Magnificent. Surah Al-Waqi'ah, ayat 71 to 74. Okay. Have you ever looked at a piece of wood and wondered how such a brown, sturdy material from the ground can grow to make many things? Today I'm going to talk about the miracles of wood. Okay. Have you ever thought about the fire that you light? Is it you who makes the trees that fuel it grow, or are we the grower? We have made it to be a reminder and a comfort for travelers in the wild. So glorify the name of your Lord, the Magnificent. Surah Al-Waqi'ah, ayat 71 to 74. Have you ever looked at a piece of wood and wondered how such a brown, sturdy material from the ground could grow to make many things? Okay. One of the chemical substances mainly responsible for the structure of wood is lignocellulose. This substance is a compound of a material known as lignin and cellulose that gives wood its hardness. In terms of chemical structure, wood is made of 50% cellulose, 25% lignocellulose, and 25% lignin. The analysis of these substances' chemical formula reveals the three elements: hydrogen, water, and oxygen. A wonderful chemical substance from Allah, responsible for the structure of wood, is lignocellulose. This compounded material is made of lignin and cellulose, which gives wood its hardness. The chemical structure of wood is 50% cellulose, 25% hemicellulose, 25% thickness. scientists are still struggling to grasp all the details of the creation. Even the complex cells that the trees have not been identified, despite advances in technology and intensive research. Lack of chemistry and the structure of wood fibers is currently missing from the knowledge of scientists that only Allah knows about. Understanding how wood is developing is still far from complete. Little known about the cellular, molecular, and developmental process that underlies wood formation. Variation can be seen in a single tree from the base to the top, but the chemistry and structure of wood cells are extremely heterogeneous, different, and difficult to investigate with simple techniques. In another scientific journal, Annals of Botany, it states the wood formation is highly complicated process involving an unbelievable variety of metabolic steps in a roots, system, and crown of shrub and trees. As we all know, hydrogen and oxygen are the building blocks of millions of substances in nature. But the miracle from Allah, all of these three substances give rise to the substances lignocellulose found in plants. Like most things that can be reproduced in the world, scientists are unable to reproduce by artificial means this special material in plants that is used to give the wood its hardness. Okay, this is a picture of wood. Some features of wood show it cannot be made artificially. These details in the wood and hard-resistant nature of wood is the result of cellulose fibers it contains. Because cellulose is hard and insoluble in water, it is the property of cellulose that makes the use of wood in construction so advantageous. Okay, what does wood consist of? Wood consists of parallel columns made up of convex cells laid end to end. They are surrounded by cellulose fibers and styrofoam. In addition, those cells are contained in lignin, a substance made from a complex polymer structure resin. These spirally enclosed layers make up 80% of the thickness of the cell wall and are the part bearing the main load. When a cell collapses, internally it absorbs the shock of blows by detaching itself from the surrounding cells. Even when it cracks along the length of the fiber, wood remains unharmed. That is why wood is strong enough to bear specific loads, even if it's broken. As seen on the left, wood consists of tubes that are called xylem. These root cells make up the root and trunks of plants, which help carry water throughout the plant. Interesting facts. Material based on the structure of wood can be up to 50 times more resistant than other synthetic materials in use today. This unique structure of wood is used to protect against the high speed of bullets, bombs, but scientists have never been able to replicate a piece of wood with its many abilities. The thickness of the internal layer is the level of compression, the number of vessels, their layout, and the materials inside it have been specially created to result in resistance. The hydraulic system is a system that raises water many meters against the force of gravity. The dead part of wood, the xylem, contains hollow channels known as wood vessels. The nuclei and cytoplasm dies in a cell, which is why it becomes dead. Long thin wood vessels form when the membrane between the cells dissolves and disappears. Trees can live for 1,000 years. Every year, 6 additional trees are planted for every one that is harvested. Forest production companies rank among 10 employees in 40 out of 50 states with an annual payroll of 44 billion. The way a tree grows through different seasons can be seen by growth rings in the wood. They can even be used to determine the age of the wood, of a tree. If it's in the middle, that means it's dead, and if as soon as you go out, it's going into new wood. The giant sequoia is not only tall, it is also wide because of its amazing size. Some believe that the giant sequoia is the largest living organism in the world. So basically, all these things, or all these items come from briquette, paper, fuel. In closing, since a single cell of wood cannot be made artificially, it shows the presence of a divine creator. The properties of wood can be written in many volumes, but the intimate knowledge manifested in wood belongs to Almighty Allah, the creator and Lord of all things. Jazakallahu khairan.
It's very excellent presentation. This might be too hard, but it's okay to point out. Have you run into research? Let me ask you this question. If you have a green tree, does a green tree burns with fire? Can you run a tree?
You can't burn a tree that's green, but it's going to take a while because all the water that's consistent in the wood.
So most of the wood would burn is pretty dry, dead tree.
Yes, sir.
Okay? You know, there's an ayah of the Quran that says,
الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون.
the Quran says that Allah made you from the green tree, the wood that you burn from. So there's an indication of the green. Have you run into how the stuff we use every day, that we fill our car with gas, with gas and petrol came from?
Petroleum, I think, came from like wood that's on the ground that has been decaying for hundreds of years, and that makes it a fossil fuel that we can use in our cars and automobiles.
Exactly. And that's one of the interpretations for this ayah, is that this, the fuel we use today, used to be green, but now we use it as a fuel. Very good.
If you want to establish ark or ship, okay, or boat, what you need to do that is nails and wood, right?
You use like oak wood because it's dense. That's like the densest material of a tree that we know of. And you probably use oak planks or wood planks basically to make a ship using those too.
Yes. But do you know that Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam, when he established his ark, he just only used wood without nails? Why?
It's up to Allah. I don't know.
Yes, I know, and this is miracle from Allah. But I am asking you because I want to know one characteristic from the characteristics of wood. If you put wood in water, what will happen for it?
It's really dense, so it'll float on the water, it won't sink.
And it will be big.
Yes, that's dense if you have a lot of wood under the sea.
Yeah, the wood will expand. Do you know that?
Yes.
So this you that established his without. Thank you.
So let me say one thing. We're not trying here to ask the presenter to kind of embarrass you or no. This is part of learning, okay? And we love what you do. We're trying to also learn from you, and you want us to know what we know. So don't be afraid of the question we ask you here, okay? It's all good. We're not trying to size you or, you know, but this is very good character too.
I was wondering if scientists have ever tried synthesizing cellulose or the other substances that you have mentioned.
They have tried, but since, liquid cellulose contains water, the water dries up. Since it's like small particles of water dries up before they can go to the lab and test it out for some reason. So I know what you're talking about. I looked that up.
And usually it's the case that many organic substances can be synthesized in the lab, but it's so expensive and so much work is involved. We just find it much easier and inexpensive to get the tree done.
Yes, sir.
Jazakallah for your speech. speaking for myself, I'm learning a lot from these kids and what I learned yesterday. And they need a big hand, and you know, we are going to reward them for you know, the effort they have put into come here and present in front of us. Jazakallah khairan. This is Muhammad Asif, and I would like you to introduce yourself and introduce your topic and start the program, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Muhammad Asif. I'm from Central High School, and my topic is about the invisible border between the two bodies of water, the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. And merging, but not in the Quran was revealed over 1400 years ago by Prophet Muhammad as a source of guidance for humanity. The Quran has remained unchanged since the day it was revealed. It's a clear guidance for all those who are searching truth. Gibraltar Strait is located between Morocco and Spain. This is a narrow pathway connecting the two bodies of water, the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. Two bodies of water, the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. The Strait of Gibraltar is located south of Spain and North Morocco. This is the overview of the two bodies of water. This barrier above. The barrier divides the two seas so that each has their own temperature, salinity level, density. In the Mediterranean Sea, water is warm, saline, and less dense. Meanwhile, in the Atlantic Ocean, the water is cooler, denser, and also saline. There has been a lot of confusion about this phenomenon. Oceanographers have disputed about this for a long time. In recent studies, scientists have finally discovered, with the help of physics, that the reason these two bodies of water don't mix is because of the difference in densities. Meanwhile, the Quran, a 1400-year-old book, has had the answer all this time. That was before physics was even created. There's a simple verse in the Quran that describes this phenomenon. Allah said, Marjal Bakri al-Taqiyan, Allah baynahuma. This is from Surah Al-Rahman, verse 19-20. This basically says that that the two bodies of water, the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean, will never converge and become one, even though there are large waves, strong currents, and tides in the two seas. They will never mix together or break the barrier. The literal meaning of the word maraja is mixing. Allah merges the two seas, the fresh and salt water. It means that He mixes them up until they meet at the barazak. Barazak is a quiet barrier surrounding the body of water. And with the discoveries of science, humans have started investigating mysteries of the universe and the way seas meet with the river. They discovered that one of the properties of the sea is that they meet together but not yet intermix because of the surface tension. That prevents them from meeting one another. As if there was an invisible barrier underneath the depths of the sea. This place is where the phenomenon happens. The place where the phenomenon happens has its own temperature, salinity level, and density. From researchers' point of view, the density differences between fresh and salt water makes the estuaries interesting. when the river water meets the seawater, the light of fresher water rises up over the denser salt water. The salt water dives into the estuary beneath the river water, pushing its way upstream along the water. The opposing fresh water and salt water streams sometimes flow smoothly over. These are two types of water: fresh water in the estuaries, and salt water. As the fresh water as the fresh water moves towards the salt water, the density differences between the fresh water and salt water cause the fresh water to go downward and go back towards the fresh water. The seawater does the same. This process is repeated. This is how it creates an invisible barrier, as stated in the Quran. The line zone is where the fresh water and the seawater mix. This is also where the boundaries are. Salt water cannot surpass the line zone. And we go into the fresh water, and fresh water can't surpass the line zone and go into the seawater. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created this wonderful universe for us, the mankind. If we cannot see this partition with which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserves the estuaries, satellites today have provided us with wonderful images showing us that boundaries of these three aquatic masses that get closer with the increasing differences in temperature of the water and the materials it contains. Rather than the two seas appear to humans as one homogeneous sea. All this information has been discovered recently by researchers using advanced equipment to measure the temperature, salt, salinity level, and density. Oceanographers and talented researchers took several centuries after the revelation of the Holy Quran to understand such mysteries and universal facts. This truly shows the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran. Thank you.
Any questions?
Excellent presentation. This is a very good presentation. Let me ask you a couple of questions. In the prophet time, was the prophet living close to the sea and the ocean, or he was in the desert?
I believe that he was in the desert.
He was in the desert. He was in the desert area. And the Prophet Muhammad, he cannot read. For him, it's an honor. For us, it's a shame. So he didn't really have to expose to any other cultures or knowledge about these things. So actually, this verse is one of the scientific proof that the Quran to me is the word of Allah through scientific analysis. Okay, because studying where the Prophet was, you live in the desert, you've never seen an ocean. You don't have an airplane to go over the picture you show, it's separate. But he comes with a clean, clear explanation or phenomenon that was existed back then. You cannot see, you not even hear about, but it's mentioned clearly. So that's one of the miracles of Quran to prove that this book is not man-made. It's Allah's word. So we can use actually this to discuss with non-Muslims and non-believers. And I believe some of the people actually converted to Islam by this little observation we point out to people about.
So like I said, it's density. If you have to measure density, you have to have some knowledge about physics. And physics, like I said, was even created. So
I would like to ask Nehan Anwar to come up, inshallah, and present the fourth oral presentation of this morning. And now, introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello, I'm Nihal Anwar. I'm a sixth grade and I'm from ICLR. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Nihal Anwar today. And today I'm doing my project on the existence of subatomic particles in the Quran. Famous physicist once said, "Science without religion is dead. Religion without science is blind." This famous physicist was Albert Einstein. The scientific facts in the Quran initiate all human mankind to further understand and research. The Quran, though, is not a book of science, but of signs, ayahs, or verses of guidance. The knowledge of Allah and His capabilities are infinite and incomparable. Verses in the Quran lay out explanation for our minds to be able to recognize, understand, absorb, and follow. Here's a flow chart of the matter. As you can see here, the earth consists of a lot of matter. And in that matter, we have molecules. Inside these molecules, we have atoms, which have electrons sitting around them, and a nucleus right in the middle. Inside the nucleus, we have protons and neutrons. Inside these protons, we have quarks, which were newly discovered, say 20 years ago. And this is one of the verses that led to the reveal of subatomic particles in the Quran. It says, "Neither you," this part's Muhammad, "do anything nor cite any portion of the Quran, nor you," to mankind, this part is mankind, "do any deed, good or evil, but we are witness thereof when we are doing it. And nothing is hidden from us, so much as the weight of an atom on the earth or in the heaven, not what is less than that, or not what is greater than that, but it's written in a clear record." This verse refers to that nothing is hidden from Allah, because He has knowledge on everything that happened, down to even the weight of an atom and even smaller. So this refers to that there could be subatomic particles in the Quran, because it said what is less than. So here's relative sizes. You can see the atom is 10 to the power of negative 10 meters, which is very small. Then the nucleus is 10 to the power of 14 meters, which is even smaller. Then the neutron and the protons are 10 to the power minus 15 meters, which is even smaller. Then the electron is 10 to the power minus 18 meters, which is really, really small. And then the smallest is the quark, which is 10 to the power minus 19 meters. So these are very small things. And then here's another verse that led us to finding that here's some other verses that helped me find it. And here's an explanation. All of the above verses, like Surah Saba, Surah An-Nisa, Surah Al-Zalzala, are very similar to verse 1061 in Surah Yunus, saying that absolutely nothing is hidden from Allah. All events, deeds, and even if it is smaller than an atom, are noticed by Allah. Nothing can escape His knowledge. And when it says smaller than that, particles. And this is the atomic structure. You see this picture on the left is the carbon atom. It has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. I use the carbon atom because it is like the base of all molecules that are organic or living. But this was an older picture because it has a circle, or the electrons are in a circle orbital system. But new technology showed that it's more of an elliptical shape. So this is also the carbon atom, just a newer picture of it. Before modern science discovered subatomic particles, people believed in the theory of atomism, which was stated that an atom is the smallest, most indestructible particle. It was made by a Greek scientist named Democritus, who lived 23 centuries ago. At that time, most of the world believed it, including the Arabs. Then in 1897, 13 centuries after the Quran revealed the subatomic particles, they were discovered to modern science. Famous scientist J.J. Thomson found the first electron, which was smaller than the atom and resided within it. This discovered particles of subatomic particles, which was again 13 centuries after. The scientific indications of the Quran clearly prove its divine origin, because no human could have written something that consisted of so many scientific facts that were discovered many centuries later, because they so insightful ideas. And here are my references, and my acknowledgements, special gratitude to my attendees for listening, and special gratitude to ICLR for organizing such a nice event. And here are my references.
Zachary, do you have questions?
Thank you, Nihal, for this exceptional presentation. I think you've spent a lot of effort and time in putting it together. But what made this subject interesting to you?
It was interesting to me because I really like this type of thing, because I really wonder about, because it's from Allah, and it's amazing how the Quran is written. Because
you mentioned very smart and important comment at the end of your talk, how this Quran is mentioning a lot of scientific facts that people didn't know about. And that's one of the miracles of the Quran, that you young guys here need to really take it into heart. That every prophet came with a miracle. The Prophet Muhammad is the Quran, and it's ongoing miracle, and it's scientific in these days. These days people don't believe in anything but science. And our Quran, as you showed us here, is a book, so we can talk with non-Muslims scientifically and prove to them that this is the book of Allah. Very good.
Inshallah, this will take a break and we'll meet again at 12:30, and at that time we will, at 12:20, 20 minutes from now, we will have our Cub Scouts, they will have a presentation for 5 minutes, and then we will move towards our prize distribution, inshallah. So at 12:25 we will do our prize distribution, and after the prize distribution we will have our lunch. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum. And I would request all of you, the ones that you go and look at the posters that these kids have put up, and alhamdulillah, it's a good work that they have put. And I appreciate and thank all the kids who are here to present the presentations, and thank you very much for the judges. I'll request our AC President to come up and say some few things, and we'll do the prize distribution.
Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah, I learned something new today by looking at these posters and by listening to the presentation. And I'm sure we all learned something from all the information that they gave us, alhamdulillah. I want to thank all the brothers and sisters that participated in this, Brother Yasser, Brother Mursi, Abdul, and all the brothers and sisters that made this possible for us. MashaAllah, it was a very organized event. and we keep going forward and moving forward, making it better and better, and have more participation next year, inshallah. Also, I would like to congratulate the Muslim Pack 322 for all their hard work in making this dream come true. All the sisters Adia and brother Hassan Mustafa, all the brothers that made this, also brother Ibrahim, that made this dream come true and made it possible. And inshallah, it will be good for the community and good for our kids, alhamdulillah. So inshallah, now we do the prizes.
First of all, we will begin with our poster, the one participants who participate in our poster competition. Alhamdulillah, elementary and we had from middle and high school categories, and they all done so good, and the judges were very impressed with them. So inshallah, I will request, as I will call their name out, please come and please come out and receive their prizes. Ismail Rahoud. Ismail. Rahmi from outside.
If you go outside, by the entrance there's a couple of switches that you need to turn on.
It's a certificate and there's a check in each envelope, so please look into it. Zaina Ihab Al-Nahabi. Ziyad Saifuddin. Samar Qureshi. Sayyid Ibrahim. Umar Sultan. Salah Al-Naib. Sohana Mushtaq.
Take your brother, take your brother.
Ashraf Sheikh. Nihal Anwar. Muhammad Asif. Rayyan Sayyid. Now we will have the outstanding poster from the elementary category, and I would like that person to come up and receive the prize from the elementary category the judges, they have decided. And the prize goes to Salam al-Naim for the first. Oral presentations, the first prize for the oral presentation goes to Nehal Anwar. The second prize goes to Rayan Sayyid. Mohammed Asif. And Munir Shahbaz. I would request all the parents, you have received a check, and you have to fill the page with the order in each check that you receive with the cash prize. If you have any problems or anything, any issue, everyone knows Brother Hamid Patel contact for the trainer. And I appreciate and thanks Brother Rahman for coming up here and interacting with that.